In July 1518, a woman named Frau Troffea stepped into a narrow street in Strasbourg and began to dance. There was no music. No celebration. No audience. She just danced. And she did not stop. For 4 to 6 days straight, she danced until her shoes were soaked with blood. Within a week, 34 other people had joined her. By August, the number had reportedly swelled to 400. The authorities panicked. And then they made a decision so staggeringly wrong that it reads like dark comedy. They built a stage. They hired musicians. They encouraged more dancing. This actually happened. The City Council of Strasbourg, one of the largest cities in the Holy Roman Empire, consulted its physicians. The doctors diagnosed a condition of hot blood and prescribed the only logical cure: dance the disease out. So the council opened guild halls, constructed a wooden platform in the town square, and paid professional dancers and drummers to keep the afflicted moving. It made everything worse. The dancers were not celebrating. Every account describes the same thing: expressions of terror, cries for help, bleeding feet, bodies jerking in movements they could not control. These were people trapped inside their own bodies. They were not dancing. They were being danced. People collapsed. Some died. Exhaustion, dehydration, strokes, heart attacks. The exact death toll was never recorded, but the city council's escalating panic tells you it was serious enough to terrify a government. To understand how this happened, you need to understand what Strasbourg looked like in 1518. The city was dying. A series of devastating harvests had driven food prices beyond what most families could afford. Smallpox was tearing through the population. Syphilis, then called the Great Pox, barely understood and hideously disfiguring, was spreading. 20,000 people crammed into a medieval city with no sanitation, no clean water, and no hope that tomorrow would be any better than today. Into this misery stepped a belief so deeply rooted in the culture that it became a weapon. The people of the Rhine region believed in a curse. They believed that Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr, could punish sinners by forcing them to dance. The condition even had a name: Vatestands. Saint Vitus's dance. This was not the first time it happened. In 1374, an outbreak struck Aachen and spread across the Rhineland. Dozens, possibly hundreds, danced through the streets of multiple cities. In 1278, 200 people danced on a bridge in Maastricht until it collapsed. Records go back to 1017. Almost every documented case occurred in the same region, during the same kinds of conditions: famine, plague, social collapse. The pattern is too specific to be random. These outbreaks did not happen in Spain or England or Italy. They happened in the Rhine-Moselle corridor, among populations that shared a very particular belief about supernatural punishment through compulsive movement. And they happened when those populations were under extreme psychological stress. Modern medicine has a name for this: mass psychogenic illness. It is not faking. It is not performance. It is the body expressing psychological trauma and physical symptoms because the mind has no other outlet. It happens when people are terrified, starving, and surrounded by others who are equally terrified and starving. One person breaks. Then another. Then the break becomes contagious. The 1962 Tanganyika laughter epidemic, where uncontrollable laughter spread through schools in Tanzania for months, is the modern parallel. Different culture. Different symptom. Same mechanism. A population under unbearable stress, a culturally specific way for that stress to manifest, and social contagion turning individual breakdown into collective crisis. When the Strasbourg City Council finally realized that encouraging more dancing was killing people, they reversed course. They banned public music. They cleared the streets. And they did the one thing that, within the logic of a population that believed in Saint Vitus's curse, might actually work. They carried the afflicted up a mountain to the chapel of Saint Vitus at Hohenstein. They gave them small crosses, red shoes, and holy water. They prayed. The dancing stopped. Not because prayer cured a disease, but because a population that believed a saint had cursed them could only be released by the same saint's mercy. The cure worked because it matched the cause. It treated the belief, and the belief was the illness. By September 1518, the outbreak was over. Frau Troffea disappeared from the historical record. We do not know if she survived. We do not know what drove her into that street on a July afternoon to dance alone, without music, until her feet bled. But we know that 400 people followed her. We know that a city built a stage for people who were dying. And we know that the most disturbing thing about the dancing plague of 1518 is not that it happened once. It happened over and over. For 500 years. And then it stopped. And nobody knows why.